Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So let me start the video by telling you a very interesting story from my own life. So I grew up in a middle class family, and like many middle class families, I've always been very scared of taking loans. But in 2014, a pivotal decision came in my life that I wanted to study abroad from a really good business school. So I applied to Harvard, Stanford, bunch of other top tier MBA programs, and I got admission to almost all of them. The GMAT score अच्छा था, वो सब बातें, right? So I was very happy. You know what? Now I would go and study at Harvard, Stanford, this, that. But when I looked at fees, right, and when it was time to deposit my fees, it was like close to 1.5 CR at that point in time at 2-year MBA program in the US. इतना पैसा था नहीं मेरे पास, right? And I naturally did not want to take loan. Also, I did not even scout the option. शायद मुझे मिलता भी नहीं. So I did not even scout that option. But bottom line, I was very, very scared of taking loans. So I made a call that, okay, I have already received an admission from INSEAD. So why not I go there? Because I have a substantial scholarship. So I will graduate debt-free and without a loan. Initially, I felt a little bit iffy, what the brand value of Harvard is much higher than INSEAD. So am I doing right by my life? All that stuff. But I'm glad that I made the choice of going to INSEAD and graduating debt-free. Why was that the case? Because at a business school, number one, I was less stressed about a job. I did not have to run after a high-paying job necessarily. I could pursue a lot of things that I wanted to try out. For example, starting a small business, learning more about entrepreneurship. So not taking a loan proved to be a game changer for me. And this is a habit that I continue even now. And मेरे पास होता भी है, तो भी मैं उसको पटा देता हूँ फटाफट. So that is the way I operate. On the flip side, I see a lot of my friends, they are all earning really well, but they have very high loans and they are always stressed despite making some of them making even $1 million salary. They are stressed about repayment karna hai, this, that and all that stuff. So the essence of the story is very simple, that sometimes the small financial decisions that we make of taking a loan versus not, it can really dictate the way we end up living our life. So on this particular video, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to help you analyze some of the decisions that viewers of this channel have made that have put them in a certain financial situation, and what would I do if I were there in their shoe. So I will analyze a few of these stories from you. I had rolled out a Google form to understand your stories better. So I will be featuring a few key financial stories of yours, and I will give you my take from it. Because when we watch other people's finance story, we end up learning a lot about the world, what type of problems people get trapped into, what kind of situations they are facing, and what is the best method of coming out. So दूसरों की गलतियों से, by learning from other people's mistake, we end up learning a lot. So with that spirit in mind, I'm shooting this video. Just a simple like from your side will indicate whether I should be continuing this particular series where I will continue to feature your stories. So if there is enough support for this video, it will act as an indicator that I should be continuing with this series, and then I will go on to feature many more stories. So let's kickstart, and also a very big shout out to our sponsors for today, which is Ditto Insurance. It is a wonderful platform for buying your insurance. In case, whatever financial situation you are in, you should definitely have an insurance. I myself have an insurance. I always encourage people to have health insurance, term insurance. Why? Very simple stuff. Because in India, the medical inflation cost is going up. It is going up at a rate of 14%. Whatever premium you are paying today, it will go up by 14% by next year. So that's how fast the premiums are rising. So in that spirit, it is very important to lock in your insurance as early as possible. So do go and speak with insurance experts from Ditto. They are a very friendly team. They will help you pick the right insurance. And there is no spam calling that happens. You can simply go and speak with them, understand the entire process of buying an insurance. That will help you get more awareness around this topic. So with that said, let's kickstart the video. So story number 1 is of Yuvan Shankar. Here is his quick background. He makes a salary of 14 lakh rupees. So which is very, very good salary for a 21-year-old. So I'm just checking the details, 22. So he's 22. So he makes a salary of 14 lakh rupees a month, lives in Bangalore, and there are 5 people in his family and 3 of them are senior citizens. That means that he would most likely be supporting these senior citizens. And there are 3 financial problems that he is going through. That problem number 1 is that he has taken a lot of loan. Looks like that he took that loan for a business, and unfortunately the business did not do well. So he's under a lot of loan, a lot of EMI repayment needs to happen for that. Second is that he does not like his job too much. So that's a common problem that many of us might be facing. So this is the second key problem. And third key thing is that his energy levels are low in a way because he gets exhausted with work. Again, a very common problem that all of us face. So what is the solution here and what would I do if I were in his situation? Let me just explain the entire thing in a couple of points. See, point number one is that first and foremost, you should not be taking out too much loan in order to start your business. मुश्किल होता है, right? Especially if a business is not asset backed. For example, if you are taking a business loan to, let's say, buy a shop, right? So that shop is an asset. You can probably sell it off, recover that money and pay your loan, whatever you have taken, right? So that itself works out, right? But if you're just simply taking a loan to start something very capital intensive, generally avoid it. Biggest solution of avoiding your very high EMIs is not to get into a loan taking situation itself. So that is literally the first step. But wo ho gaya hai, so what else can you do? Well, my advice will look counterintuitive. If I were in Yuvan's shoe, what I would do is that I will continue to focus on my work despite not liking it. I'm giving you practical, straight to the point answer. Why is that the case? Because your salary is very good, you're young. So if you work at a good tier company, and I'm assuming that you're working with a blue chip type of a company, if you work, build your experience for 2-3 years, just brush past it, that experience even if you don't like, it gives you credible points on your resume. You can switch it to some other job at an equally or greater pay and get more flexible hours subsequently. You are just 22 years old, so developing that mental toughness is going to be the key. So if I were in your situation, the number one thing that I would do is that I will focus on my job. Even if I don't like it, I will just figure out a way to survive in it for the next 3 years. If I just survive in my job for 3 years, finance-wise, I'll be okay. I'll be able to repay a large chunk of that debt. I will have blue chip experience on my resume. Using that experience on my resume, I'll be able to make a better switch. So this is a practical viewpoint. A lot of people will disagree with that. But given your responsibilities, this is a decision that I would advocate. The second story is of a mother. Her name is Lalitha. She currently makes a salary again of 14 lakh rupees. So almost all the people who have filled out the form, they are making very good salary. So I'm very happy for all of you. It gives you a significant head start in your career. So kudos to that. So the problem that this young mother is facing, that number one, she's not getting enough time to create a passive income stream. She wants to spend more time with her kid. She's unable to save money due to the car loan that she has taken. And finally, she has an asset, gold, which is worth 12 lakh that she purchased at the time of her marriage. So what is it that she should be doing? Now guys, I'm just sharing my perspective. Of course, this is not the right perspective. I'm just sharing my viewpoint on it. This is just one piece of advice and you should definitely go and consult other people also on it. But whatever I'm saying, I'm speaking purely from a finance standpoint and improving your life standpoint. So I'm speaking from heart and I'm trying to give you honest information. So the first key thing that I would do is that since the lady has 12 lakh rupee of gold, which is an asset, she could sell half of it and use it to do away with the EMI payments that she is making on her car. So settle that loan as early as possible. So what would that do is that whatever new salary is coming, so she will be relaxed, she will be less stress-free. And if the situation improves going forward, then again, if she wants to invest in gold, go ahead and do it with the salary money that you are anyways receiving. But the gold money which is lying idle as of now, it has already given. Gold itself has given quite an extensive run up very recently. So it's not as if that it will continue to grow at the same rate. So some positions on gold could be cut. And from the message, it looks like that the young mother does not have any other investments or substantial investments per se except for gold. So just sticking to one asset class does not necessarily help. You should be diversified. So from that perspective, I think cutting some positions on gold, selling 50% of it solves a lot of issues. Then comes the final point regarding like passive income. How do I create it? How do I create more time from my work? Well, that's going to be a more extensive conversation. But if I have to highlight, the most important key point is that try to start something which has to do with your existing job. So for example, let's say that you're a software developer. Now that is an area where you are getting already coached, you are working on projects at your primary organization. Now can you start something related to that? For example, can you design a simple product which can be software as a service? So that can be done. Can you design like a simple website? Something on those lines. So just start something very, very slowly. Figure out a product idea. I will release more videos on how to market your products that you are building. Once you apply these two things, you have a product ready, you know how to market a little bit, at least the initial money starts rolling in and that will give you confidence to further build on your business. So the third message comes from Parth. He's a lawyer and he's making 80 lakh rupees and his primary problem is that I do not have time at all in order to manage my portfolio and investments. What should I do? And again, highlighting the fact that the person makes 80 lakh rupees annually. This is a very healthy salary and this is not uncommon with lawyers. But again, Not having time is also not very uncommon with lawyers. Lawyers are extremely busy. Some of them are my friends. And bhai sahab, they work for like 16 hours a day. Many of them want to quit, but you know what will we do once we quit? So that's a problem that they face. So as a result, many of them want to create like a portfolio. Stock portfolio, if it becomes big or this investment becomes big, then I could possibly wind down from my work. So that is the spirit with which I think this person wrote this message to me. So my advice would be very simple and similar. So I was also in a position where I was in a high paying job with little to no time left for myself. So what did I do? So I will simply share that, and possibly you can draw some inferences and lessons. So the first key thing that I will do is that I will pick the simplest investment strategy, which is to invest in Nifty 50 in an SIP format. That's it. You don't need to know anything. This way you are paying the least possible commissions, because if you just simply go buy Nifty 50 yourself, you will pay the lowest possible commissions that is there. It's relatively less free. You don't need to sit and continuously monitor. Please stop overthinking the fact that I should go and hire like a PMS guy or a hedge fund guy and this thing and that thing. No, please don't overdo it. I can show you at least like 50% of PMSs in India that are giving horrible returns to their clients. Really bad service, bunch of other different problems. So don't get into all that game just because you are having a high paying salary. Create a very simple investment strategy. I have already said it. If you want to take it a step up, then invest in mutual funds. That's it. Month-wise, just pick a date that you are going to do 2 SIPs monthly because your salary is quite high. You are making roughly 5 to 6 lakh rupees a month. So maybe you will have an investable amount of 2-3 lakhs a month. I don't know. I'm assuming it. So if that is the amount that you have, then you can split your SIPs like 2 to 3 times a month. And do 1 SIP in mutual funds, do 1 SIP in Nifty 50, and do 1 SIP in blue chip stocks. So these 3 SIPs would be very good. Now you'll say, Acha, which blue chip stocks? So here is a video that I had done on buy and hold type of stocks. So you could consider watching it. Just continue to educate yourself whenever you get time. Even if you're not getting time, just simply do Nifty 50. If that's the absolute least that you can do, don't run into fancy investments. Now comes the second point. Because your salary is fairly high, 5 lakh rupees, at this stage, you should do something called as asset class diversification. It means कि सारा का सारा पैसा don't put it in equities, सारा का सारा पैसा don't put it in real estate, सारा का सारा पैसा do not put it in gold. So split your investments. So at least start thinking about buying a good real estate. That is something that you could do. Buy something which is cash flow oriented. So these 2 tips is something that I would share with you. For this, you do not require crazy amount of investment knowledge. With just literally like 1 week of work, you can easily figure this investment strategy out. Now, in my case, this is exactly what I did when I was working in a management consulting organization. And finally, my final point bata deta hu ki you might be thinking ki acha, when should I quit my job or like achieve that financial freedom wali cheez? Or is there like a right time to quit your job? No, there is none. You will have to take that leap of faith. In case that is something that bothers you. I also had to take that leap of faith, but I exited my job with a very clear execution plan in mind. When I quit my job, I had a very clear idea what I would be doing next. I did not even waste a single day. So that is the only thing that I will encourage, that in case you're thinking about quitting your job, then please have a very clear idea what are you going to do from the very next. Okay, so the next story is of Dr. Satakshi. So she is a young mother. She lives alone. So she has a daughter who is 1.5 years. And her primary query is that, that sabzi, doodh, all the other things are rising up in prices. In short, inflation is happening. I have no time to learn investing because I have a young daughter. So what is it that I should do so that I can invest my money properly? That is the primary challenge that she is facing. Professionally speaking, she is an assistant professor. So I'm assuming that her job is stable. Okay. So here is what I would do if I have a stable job, right? So there are different types of jobs. So if you're a doctor, then the chances are that you will be able to do fairly well. Jitni bhi aapki salary ban rahi hai, you will continue to make that. So that is the definition of a stable job. Now, the thing is that she has a young kid to manage on her own. So, of course, she is not going to get any time. So, on top of that, she has professional responsibilities. So, she must be really tired from that viewpoint. So, this is what I would do. So, right now, she stated that she is putting a lot of money in like government schemes, government bonds, like Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, vagera. So, all those government bonds, government schemes, she's putting her money. And she is a low risk investor. That is the essence that I could draw out of it. My advice to her will be very simple. That's it. Start slow. If you want to beat inflation, then you can't really beat inflation by investing in government-oriented bonds. Bonds का आपको return मिलेगा 8-8.5%. on a long-term basis and the stated inflation would be 5-6%, तो after tax return अगर आप calculate करोगे तो net it will come out to be the same. So government bonds वगैरह में invest करके you are not going to grow your money, and in real terms में तो inflation you are definitely not going to beat. So what you need to do is that number one, that please start putting little bit of money on slightly risky assets. For example, equities are slightly risky. Now within that segment, pick the least risky option. What is the least risky option if you're looking to invest in stocks? Well, it is Nifty 50 again. Very simple, because I cannot say that, you know what, you are investing in like government bonds and gold and suddenly मैं आपको बोल दूं कि you should go and invest in like small caps and mid caps. वो नहीं होगा. You will get scared when you see the volatility in the market and you'll say यार अक्षत ने तो यार गलत चीज बता दी हमें. We should not have done it. Absolutely, right? So you need to develop confidence, and the first step for you, there are in fact two. One is that please pick Nifty 50. Very easy to invest. Do SIP mode. Don't invest crazy amount of money. Start by investing. Let's say hypothetically your salary right now is 80,000, and let's say that you are saving 20,000 rupees a month. उसमें से आप 5,000 रुपए, right? Pick 25% as growth portfolio. Put that money. See it for a couple of years, and after a couple of years, you will see your portfolio. 2-3 years में you will see the growth on your portfolio, and you yourself will feel confident. Then explore other options like investing in mutual funds, all that stuff. So 2 steps. One would be Nifty 50, and second would be mutual funds. This is where you should be heading, because you have very less time. This does not require crazy amount of monitoring. This does not require a crazy amount of risk taking per se. And at the same time, executing this option will still give you growth. So I hope that you found this advice to be sensible. So the next story is of Vittal. He lives in Hyderabad. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Apologies if I'm not. So his story is that he does not have an ancestral property. He's roughly 30-31 years of age. He has a family, and at this stage, he's thinking about buying a house. His salary is 1.8 lakhs. He did not tell me whether this is yearly salary or monthly salary. I will assume it to be monthly for this purpose. And at this stage, he's thinking about that should he own a property. Okay. So here are a few key points that you must remember. So see, if you are making a monthly salary of 1.8 lakhs, then I'm assuming that you would be able to save somewhere around, let's say 40-50,000. That is doable, right? I mean, so that will depend from person to person. So if you are having a savings of 40-50,000, and then if you are thinking about buying a home, what is it that you should think? So number one thing is that you should be very clear about the utility of buying a house. That what are you going to use that house for? Are you living in Hyderabad? Are you going to just buy a house there for your own consumption? अगर वो point of view है, then buy a property which you will consume. For example, if you're buying slightly older units, no problem, right? अगर आपको flip नहीं करनी, आपको investment नहीं करना, you're just buying it for your family to hold it. So do it from that perspective. There is nothing wrong in terms of consuming it. This advice becomes even more relevant given the fact that you do not have an ancestral home. So at some stage in your life, you will have to buy a property, and given your salary level that you might be having a saving of 40-50,000, you can easily subdivide, right? So for example, if you are buying a house on EMI, right, and you are taking a home loan of 40-50 lakhs, then 40-50,000 is the EMI that you will have to pay every month. So run the computation this way. At 1.8 lakh of salary monthly, you can definitely start thinking about adding an EMI. Please ensure that the EMI repayment is done entirely from your savings. उसमें problem नहीं होनी चाहिए. B, your job should be stable. If you are thinking that, okay, my job is not stable, कभी भी कुछ भी हो सकता है, I'm working with a startup, then avoid taking any large bets. Now, on the flip side, if your salary is 1.8 lakhs a year, now this was not clear to me. Now, if your salary is 1.8 lakhs a year, then in such a situation, you should avoid buying a house as of now. Your primary goal should be to focus on your job and increase your salary first. Now, the next story is of Gobind. So, Gobind works in Bangalore. He makes a good salary of roughly 2 lakh rupees a month. Right now, he's 36 years of age. He has a wife and a kid. He's the single earner in his family. And right now, he's again thinking about a decision whether to buy a flat or not. So at 36, you need to start thinking about stabilizing your family. These are the same thought processes that even I go through. So from that perspective, it's important, I would not say to own a home really, but at least financially you should be secure. So as long as buying a home is not creating a detriment to your family's finances, it's possibly a right step in that direction. Of course, you need to delve deeper, understand more. But here is what I would say that, see, number one, you need to be very clear about the fact about the stability of your job. Because many times what happens is that, especially if you're a single earner in your family, And if for some reason there are problems in the job, EMI becomes a very big liability. आपको लगेगा that you're buying a house and you are providing stability to your family, but your family actually wants stability on finances, right? ये problem नहीं होनी चाहिए that you are stuck with like an EMI burden. It's just causing a lot of mental tension and all that stuff. So please be clear how stable is your job. I have no idea how stable your job is. From a salary viewpoint, you are making 2 lakh rupees. You can definitely afford to buy a home, no problem there. But again, all this simply boils down to that in the next 10 years, how stable do you think your job is going to be? If you do not have a very clear answer, then wait and watch, because once you commit to buying a house, you are committing to buying EMIs for the next 10 years. That becomes a very big liability in case the decision goes off. So that is the central message I will give you. Okay, so the next story is of ROHITASH, and his story is very interesting that he has left his job. He is at his hometown. His expenses are not that much. Possibly he is living in his ancestral home. So ठीक है, right? And he is aspiring to become a content creator. He is saying ये बहुत होगी rat race, this, that. So I want to be relaxed, all that stuff. His query is that everyone is buying a land in his area and he is also possibly looking at doing the same. So should he do it? Should he not do it? See, so Rohitash, basically my advice to you would be that number one, have some source of income. Once that is sorted, you could start thinking about investing. Don't put your family under stress, or don't put your savings in a stress. हो सकता है आपके पास बहुत savings हो and you are using that saving to buy the land. Don't do it. Don't be in a rush, right? So that's part A. Part 2 is people always think, yeah, land khatam ho jayega, right? And it will never get sold. No, it's not like this. You're still getting land, no. Possibly like, okay, fine, right? After 5 years, the land prices will escalate. All that stuff will happen. You will have to buy it at a higher price. So be it. It's not as if that land will run away and you will not be able to buy it. So don't be in a hurry to buy a land. So always work inside out. First, look to strengthen yourself and then look at external trends, right? So that is the central message that I will give you. Don't be in a rush to buy. You have cut your job for some reason कि भाई सिर दर्द नहीं चाहिए, therefore I've cut my job. Build your career, build an income stream, and once you have little bit of stability, then only make bigger purchases. That is the central message I will give you. Okay, so the next story is of Colonel GOBIND Garg. I will try to recap his story. So he's 41 years of age. He's making 30 lakh as salary. He has a wife whose salary goes into paying the EMI for the house. And he's worried about his kids' education because he wants to provide good education for the kids. He also has a passion for traveling. So उसके लिए पैसे are not enough that having kids, spending money on education. Education has really become crazy these days in terms of the expenses that you need to incur. So even when the amount looks really good, yeah, 30 lakh salary and education for kids. But yeah, the education costs have gone up dramatically. His question is that how can salaried class people jump the fence and have more financial freedom, so to say. So, okay, so this is how I think about the entire proposition, that without taking higher units of risk, it is unlikely that you are going to make higher units of return. I think one of the best things that salaried class people can do is budgeting, right? So when you budget things, you will have a very clear idea that, okay, this is what my family household savings are. Let's say hypothetically that every month your family saves 25,000 rupees. Now you will have a very clear understanding that, okay, this 25,000 is something that I can use to better my life. Having this piece of information is absolutely critical for a salaried class person. That's part A. Most of us, or most of the people in salary class, would not have this understanding that what is the exact saving that they are having or an average saving that they are having. Second key problem is that as salary class people, we typically do not think long term. We will always think, yaar, fatapat return kahan se aa jaya, right? In 1 month or like in 6 months or in 12 months. But if you keep a slightly longer perspective, let's say a 3-year or 5-year perspective, then the type of returns that you can make, those could be substantial. So please think from that perspective. Add little bit higher units of risk sensibly, because with extending the time, 3 to 5 years is when the magic happens in terms of investing. I would encourage you to do something called as growth investing. Why? Because you are in defense, you have a stable job, your wife seems to have a stable job, you have a house. So aapka stability is already there. What you need is that you need growth with your money. So you have to understand risk taking with your money a little bit better. Start again, the same piece of advice that start with Nifty 50 if you're not doing it, mutual funds after that, then individual stocks after that. But this is where a lot more money can be made from a growth perspective. So this is an aspect that I will highly encourage you to explore. So okay, so I have received so many queries that it would not be possible for me to go through every single name on this list. Do let me know your feedback on the comment box as to what other type of profiles should I feature, whether you are learning and getting something useful out of this conversation or not. It will give me an idea whether to continue this as a series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.